A town prepares for a blood moon ritual to keep an ancient evil at bay, but this time, something goes wrong. In the small, isolated town of Raven Hollow, a shadow of fear always lingered over the residents, especially when the blood moon was near. It was not just a celestial event, but the key to ensuring the town's survival. Every blood moon, the residents performed an ancient ritual to ward off an evil that had haunted them for centuries. If they failed, something terrible would be unleashed, something worse than death. The town, once vibrant and thriving, had become a place where whispers filled the air, and eyes darted nervously toward the sky as the blood moon approached. The ritual required precise preparation, every detail carefully planned, special sacrifices, a collection of rare items, and most importantly, each resident's participation were crucial. They knew that failure meant a return to horrors they could not escape. Fear kept them in line, fear of the evil that lay in wait. As the blood moon drew closer, tensions in Raven Hollow escalated. Residents went about their daily lives with an air of dread hanging over them. Doors were locked earlier than usual, the streets emptied at dusk, and families gathered in their homes to prepare. But the fear wasn't just about the ritual itself. Old secrets, buried for years, began to resurface. People whispered of a time when the ritual had failed before, when something had gone horribly wrong. Some said that the town's leader, Mayor Amelia Thornton, had been hiding something, a dark secret that no one dared speak of aloud. In the weeks leading up to the blood moon, the mayor had become increasingly distant. She had locked herself away in the town hall, consulting ancient texts and talking to figures in shadowy corners of the town. It wasn't until the night before the ritual that the unthinkable happened. Mayor Thornton vanished. No one saw her leave, and no one could find her. The town was plunged into chaos. Without her, there was no one to lead the ritual, and no one knew if they could proceed without her guidance. The night of the blood moon arrived, casting an eerie crimson light across the town. Panic set in as the townspeople realized that the ritual, with its strict demands, could not go forward without the mayor. Yet there was no time to waste. The moon was rising higher, and the ancient evil would soon stir from its slumber. The townspeople had no choice but to take matters into their own hands. They gathered in the town square, nervously looking at one another, unsure if they could proceed without the leader who had mysteriously disappeared. Strange occurrences began to unfold. As the ritual began, things started to feel wrong. The air grew thick with tension, and the very ground seemed to tremble beneath their feet. No one had expected the ritual to unfold like this, but they were too far gone now. Sacrifices were made hastily, wrong choices were made out of desperation, and the ritual, once so carefully orchestrated, began to unravel. The townspeople could only hope that the ancient evil would stay at bay, but deep down, they knew something was wrong. As the ritual progressed, the town's surroundings grew darker. A heavy fog rolled in from the nearby wood, the trees swaying ominously in the breeze. Then it began. Strange creatures, humanoid in form but twisted and grotesque, began to emerge from the darkness. Their glowing eyes pierced the night, their movements jerky and unnatural. The creatures seemed to be drawn to the center of the ritual, moving with purpose toward the town square. The townspeople froze, horrified at what they were seeing. These were not the evil beings they had expected. They were something worse, something they couldn't have predicted. The creature's appearance was only the beginning. As the blood moon hung high in the sky, it became clear that the wrong sacrifices had been made. The ritual's requirements had been altered in the haste of trying to salvage what was left of the ceremony. And in doing so, the town had inadvertently summoned a force far more dangerous than the ancient evil they had been trying to keep at bay. The creatures, now more numerous, grew increasingly hostile. Their glowing eyes shone with malice, and they began attacking the townspeople. Screams echoed through the streets as chaos descended. The once peaceful town of Raven Hollow had become a battleground, with its residents fighting for their lives against the very evil they had once hoped to contain. The air grew thick with the scent of fear and blood, and every corner of the town seemed to harbor some new terror. As the creatures tore through the town, it became clear that the evil unleashed was not what the townspeople had anticipated. It was something far older, far more powerful, a being that had been trapped in the blood moon cycle for centuries. Now it was free, and it was hungry. In the midst of the destruction, a small group of survivors gathered in the town hall. They were the last of Raven Hollow's residents, those who had somehow managed to escape the onslaught of the creatures. The town was burning, its once beautiful homes reduced to rubble. But the survivors knew they couldn't just run. They had to undo the ritual, or the evil would continue to spread, consuming everything in its path. With no leader, no guidance, they pieced together what little knowledge they had. They knew they had to reverse the ritual, but how? The blood moon was still high in the sky, and the creatures continued to roam the streets. The survivors had only one chance left. They ventured back to the center of the town, where the ritual had originally begun, hoping that if they performed the correct steps, they could still stop the ancient evil before it consumed them all. As they began to gather their strength and chant the words of the ritual, they felt the ground tremble beneath their feet. The creatures were closing in, their growls echoing through the streets. The moon above seemed to glow even brighter, casting an unnatural light over the town. The survivors knew they had no time left. With one final, desperate attempt, they completed the ritual. A burst of light erupted from the center of the town, and the creatures let out blood-curdling screams as they dissolved into the air. The blood moon began to fade, but the damage had already been done. Raven Hollow was gone, and the survivors, forever marked by the horrors they had witnessed, were left to rebuild, knowing that the evil they had unleashed could return one day. If you enjoyed this tale of terror, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another spine-chilling story. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the survivors will do next? Stay tuned for more horrors that will keep you up at night.